Welcome, ladies. Uh, Tonight, I want to connect with single ladies. I'm so happy that today, through this platform or on this platform, as much as we are isolated, as much as we are in quarantine, I've managed to connect with ladies, young mothers, young single mothers, mostly teenage ladies who became mothers at the early age. It's not because they chose to be mothers, but due to unavoidable circumstances, they became mothers. Today, we talked about how they felt. We talked about the isolation as we are isolating ourselves this time of coronavirus. They did not isolate themselves because there was this illness. There was no COVID-19. But they isolated themselves because they felt the rejection, the pain of rejection. And they ended up suffering so much when they could not go out to meet with their peers because their peers were still young people. But these women, these young women, were mothers. And in their groups, they felt that they could not fit because the peer groups could not accept them because they were mothers. But to them, they were still young adults. How sad is that? I'm glad to know they went through the experience, and through the experience of being single young mothers, they learned to cope, they learned to live. They may not have lived life in full. Actually, most of them were saying they did not feel like they lived their younghood life because they were isolated, they were secluded in the groups, they could not interact with their peers. The people who were ahead of them, those who are older than them, could also not welcome them in their groups because they felt these young women were just so young. And today they were talking of the experiences they went through, how traumatizing that was to have your age mates not willing to engage with you, and to imagine they did not choose to be mothers, they became mothers by accident. Some of them, as they were sharing, I'm not mentioning names and I'm not saying who they are or where they came from. For confidentiality, I cannot disclose that. However, I feel the need to share with you guys because if we don't talk, if we don't open up, the pains and the hurt they have gone through, or we have gone through, because one time I was one like them. I was a young mother and I went through so much. Sadly, the experiences they were sharing, whatever they were saying, is the same thing that happened to me. Now, it's not about me, but it's about them. They felt the need to connect with me. They felt the need to share with me. They felt the need to talk because some of them are mothers now. Some of them are still single. Some are married. Some have become grandmothers, but they felt the need to share with me. And with me, then I'm sharing with you. I'm not disclosing who they are, excuse me, because I cannot disclose anyone's identity. But I want just to say the power in believing in your own self and trusting God, our Creator. It's not about preaching, but it's about empowering those single young women, those mothers who went through so much, those mothers who were excluded into their families because they were judged, that they got themselves involved with things or with acts they were not supposed to be engaged with at the time they were very young. But to them, it was accidents. They did not choose to meet the men who conceived them. They did not choose to be with those men, but circumstances led them to what made them mothers. Some of them were going home from usual places sent by their parents, and they were raped on their way home. Some of them went out with their girlfriends, and through their girlfriends, who were mature than them, they met these men who conceived them. They did not consent to sex. Get this right. They did not consent. What do we call that? My understanding, that was rape. And they became pregnant. They became mothers. They chose to keep the babies. They did not choose to terminate the pregnancy, but they became mothers. How sad is that? It's very sad. I've never and I will never advocate for anyone to terminate an unborn child. That child is innocent. It doesn't matter if you are raped or you're not raped, or you consented or you didn't consent. The baby you are carrying now, the baby you give birth to, that child is innocent. They deserve a life. They deserve to live. It is out of such children where we see so many mother's boys, mother's daughter, son of a woman, daughter of a woman, because we are strong. But we need to do something extraordinary, that is to support one another. For us who have gone through the experience, we need to share the experiences to support those who are coming up, because those problems did not end when we became mothers, grandmothers. No, that problem is there today. Girls are being raped at school and they cannot talk because of the shame. Girls are going through so much and they don't talk about it. We need to allow people to talk. We need to talk about it so parents can listen and not to be judgmental to their girls. Girls have been judged. Girls have been punished because of conceiving at an early age. But how can we advocate for them? We can only advocate for them when we talk. I'm so much talking because as a mental health professional, I have learned to talk. And talking opens a lot of the areas that we don't know. The areas that we don't see as a problem. We need to talk about it. When people share their experiences of when they were growing up, maybe even what led them to go to that company that led them to bad companies, it all came from the upbringing as they were growing up. So my intention is to give single young women who are mothers a platform where they can share their experiences. And I think this is a very good time when we are all sat quietly at our own comfort zone, because your place is the best place to be at this time. When we are waiting to see where coronavirus will take us. Guess what? There are some at this moment who are so young and they have ended up in bad relationships because of the fear of what is happening in the world. I want every young woman to understand. I want them to rise up and believe in themselves. Don't think you are a problem. Don't think being with that man who doesn't love you is the end of the problem. Don't think whatever led you to that man where you are this time, a man who doesn't love you, but you happened to be there and you might come out pregnant. It's unfortunate. But guess what? It's not the end of the road. It is not the end of your life. You have got a life. And this is what I want to let you know. This is what I want to empower you to understand. Many have gone through what you have gone through, but they came out on the other side because they believed in themselves. You don't have to be depressed because of the situation. I've seen or I've heard young ladies talking to me, texting me, calling me to tell me they are expecting children, and the men who conceived them don't want to hear anything about them. They were in love. They felt the love. And for that, they allowed themselves to be in that vulnerable situation where a man looked back and said, "Who do you think you are? Why do you think I would marry you? You are not of my class." That is abuse. And you need to know who you are and not to allow abuse to happen to you. Coronavirus has come and it will go. But once depression kicks in, sadly, it will not leave you. Because every little happens is a trigger. Every little happens into your life, it's a trigger. So, can we be open? Let us be women who are talking. Young or old, middle, young, whoever you are. I'm talking to single women. We have got other single women, they are young and they are widowed. It's not their choice. But out of being widowed, now they have become a subject to many. They are vulnerable. They are abused by people who are pretending to sympathize with them. I want us to think again and again, how best can I deal with this problem? How best can I deal with being widowed? How best can I deal with being a mother of children who are fatherless? How best can I deal with that? And to stand firm, believing in myself and doing the right thing. Those are the areas I want us to focus into. Those are the areas I want us to discuss about, because a lot of women, those I have come across, are depressed. They are suffering in silence. They can't share how they are feeling. They cannot talk of what they went through. They cannot talk to anyone because, one, they don't trust no one, and they don't want to talk about what is happening in their lives. But it takes one person listening and taking a step of faith to know there is life after all this suffering, after the coronavirus, after fatherless children, after widowed woman, and after being a young teenager who doesn't know anything, but who have found herself being pregnant or being a mother when they less expected. There is life after that. Stay tuned and feel free to side chat me, because it's only after you feel you need to listen, you need to work with somebody, you need that support, that is when you realize all that, you'll be confident to talk to me and I will support you the best way possible. I'm a mother, and I was once a young single mother. I became a mother, and now I'm a grandmother. But the experiences that I went through, whatever happened into my life, today I see other people. I meet with other women who are going through the same experiences as I did, and I feel the need to step in, support them, not to be depressed, as I was depressed, but I still believed I had purpose in this world. Maybe the purpose is to save you from depression. Think out loud. Let's talk mental well-being. Thank you very much. Stay tuned.